Most of us have heard of Snapchat.
And the problem I think people have with Snapchat AI and social media in general is that they expect to have their privacy respected. And that's not what's happening.
Parenting is hard enough without all of this.
Internal research at Facebook found that its photo sharing app, Instagram, can harm the mental health of millions of young users, particularly teenage girls.
Yeah, so ever since I was in high school, I wanted to be involved with technology. So for me, it was always going to be more on the sales side. So I've always wanted to be on the selling side of technology. So even when I was in college, I was taking a lot of classes or working with companies that were in the technology space. So I was a student rep at Apple Computer when I was at Washington, and then did an internship with them and on the sales engineering side of the house. So that's how I got started in the technology industry. Well, positives, I guess it's always been about providing access to technology and what I do, right? Especially on the storage side. So for the last 15, 20 years, it's been more on the storage side of things, which has just really exploded with the internet, right? But early on, it was really about providing access. When I came into the technology industry, the internet was just starting to happen. So it's been cool to see just how technology's evolved and access to information has really changed over the last 30 years. Well, I see it as both. I think access to information has been great, right? And giving maybe some folks that wouldn't have access to technology or information, being able to spread that around the globe and giving people a way to access information and do things that you couldn't do before, like remote learning, right? Or attending college via the internet, right? I think that's been really good. I think what's bad about technology is I think the lack of communication skills, interpersonal skills, especially with the younger generation. I think that's a big change. And then also it gives people the ability to hide, right? And maybe say some things to people that they wouldn't normally say to their face, right? Or in person, which I think is unfortunate. I do. Mostly for information, right? Keeping up with what's going on in our city, our town, schools, right? And then also with just my industry as a whole, right? A lot of competition, the storage industry, and then also just what's going on in the world. So mostly for information gathering, but as far as like Twitter and Instagram and things, posting things out as far, in my world, not so much. Yeah, I think I touched on the negatives are just giving, I think two things. People don't interact or understand how to interact with people either on the phone or in person or, traditional ways of communication. And then you combine that with the ability to hide behind a screen. And there's a lot of room for misinterpretation of how you want to say things to people, right? So the combination of that, I think is kind of a negative. And that's why I'm not on a lot of these platforms, other than understanding what's going on in our area and for emergency purposes, right? I'd like to know if there's something happening in downtown Seattle, and I need to stay away. That's usually how I use social media.
Connecting with people, connecting with friends, family, social media, seeing what's going on in the world, that kind of thing.
Everything, basically. Social media, mainly just to communicate with people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I feel really bored. Like, it's my main way of communicating with people. Like, right as I wake up, right as I go to bed. It kind of takes over my life, definitely.
I find that when I'm on my phone more, I tend to I don't know, my mental health isn't as great. I feel disconnected from the world. But when I take a break from my phone, I feel I don't know, it just makes me feel better.
I think I would feel like I'm missing out more, but I think overall I'd be a lot happier, healthier. It just in some ways, but I think when I look at social media, I see people for unrealistic views on how they live their lives.
I've gotten into a good habit of not checking my phone in the morning, because whenever I woke up, I used to always go on my phone, and it just was not a good start to the day, so I try not to.
Why would you say it's not a good start? Why would you say it's a good change that you're making?
Well, you wake up and then you look at your phone and then you see something and you end up scrolling for an hour before you get out of bed, and that's just not healthy. I feel like once you are awake, you should get up and do stuff not technology-wise. When I think of social media, I think of mental health and comparing yourself to others. It's mainly negative thoughts, because I feel like you scroll on the internet and you see stuff and then you're always comparing yourself to others. You want to look how they look, you want to have what they have, but in reality, what they put out, their life is not actually as perfect as it seems. So I feel like people tend to compare themselves to other people when they really shouldn't be.
It's a negative impact on people because they feel peer pressured into, being cool or fitting in, and it kind of just takes control of that aspect of their life, which definitely needs to stop.
But I feel like for most people, if you see if someone has a lot of followers or a lot of friends on social media, then you think that they're cool and other people aren't considered cool. So you have to talk to them and in order to have good social status. And I don't know, sometimes I've experienced where people, if I'm not cool enough or as popular, they'll tend to push you away and just want to be perfect for the cool people and just want to fit in when it's not really who they are.